Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to part 2, my brothers and sisters of Real Talk. We've been having a really interesting discussion around Ramadan and medical issues, people who have got some long-term illnesses, how they will be challenged by those illnesses, and what does Islam say about how they should practice the month of Ramadan, issues around fasting, whether to fast or not to fast, making judgments around the ability to fast or not to fast. And I've had these two very eminent people with me. Mufti Zubair Saab, as I say, is a chaplain at the hospital in Leeds, has been for nearly 20 odd years, and Dr. Naeem Saab, who's a GP, happens to be in my own practice, who I've known for many years as well. And they've been sharing their thoughts and their ideas about what people should do, what they should avoid, and how and under what circumstances they can make judgments about whether they should fast or not fast. And as Dr. Naeem says, there are high risk and low risk, and everybody who's on the high risk, should get medical advice before they start fasting. Mufti Saab made it very clear, fasting is compulsory for everybody, and you have to fast regardless, unless you are in a situation where by fasting you create harm for yourself. Then you have to think very carefully as to whether you should carry on fasting or not. Now obviously we talked about these issues in more detail before, but Dr. Saab, coming back to you, you said that you have medical practitioners who have now specifically done some work around this, and you gave us the guidance, and Mufti Saab sort of reinforced that, which is the British Islamic Muslim Association. They've given some advice and guidance. So if elderly people who come to you or who phone you and say, look, mujhe roza rakhna hai, you'll probably go through their medical records,
yes,
and then you can give them the guidance.
yes.
But if people don't follow the guidance and you find out that they're putting themselves in risk, what do you follow them up, or what happens in those circumstances?
If we find out, then we do a review of those patients with us, and we reiterate our advice. We do the necessary checks with them. But obviously, health care, as much as is my responsibility, is that person's responsibility as well. Okay. So if I don't look after my health, and I expect somebody else to look after it for me, it becomes difficult. It's basically a joint responsibility of your physician, your nurse, and yourself, that you should follow the advice. A lot of people, come and see us. They don't, and they ask us for medicines. We give them medicines. They don't go and collect it from their pharmacy. Pharmacists. The other day, I went to the pharmacy and
these are
the pharmacist, and then they showed me a full basket of medicines which have dispensed, lying there in the basket. They said these are the medicines which doctors have prescribed, and nobody's come to collect it.
So you have patients who come to see you, ask you for medication, and then fail to go and collect that medication. That means they're not taking the medication that you prescribed. But I mean, the amount of waste that they are now perpetrating on the NHS is absolutely phenomenal. And to me, very clearly, that is an un-Islamic practice. Mufti Sahib, what would you say? Am I saying something that I shouldn't?
No, you're absolutely correct. We have a duty to ourselves. We have a duty to NHS, and to utilize the facilities and the what we have appropriately.
Yeah.
All of this is an amana. So our fasting, our worship is not just about fasting in the month of Ramadan or reading our prayer. It's this as well, ensuring that we are not wasting public money.
I mean, some of those medications will be costing a fortune.
Yes.
Right.
And the problem is that once it's dispensed for one patient, they cannot just then dispense it to another patient.
I know. I mean, when my mother passed away, there was a lot of stuff left behind, and I wanted to give it back to the pharmacy, and they said, sorry, we can't take it. And luckily there's a charitable organization who said we can take it to Syria. They can use it over there. There's a desperate need of medication over there. So really, we were so happy that rather than putting it in the bin and that goes into landfill, that we managed to give it to charity that took it to Syria, and maybe other brothers and sisters will benefit from it. But I mean, would you say that is a sin, Mufti Sahib? I would say that it's a gunah kisam ka.
Okay, if a person is doing it deliberately, then they have a responsibility duty, and yes, they are answerable.
Right.
This is public money. If I borrow some money from you, or I've taken your money, I can come back to you and I can ask your forgiveness, and you can forgive me. If you've taken public money, who do you ask forgiveness from? So it's more of a critical issue. And unfortunately, we don't consider it to be a part of our deen. It is very much a part of our deen. It's something we will be asked on the Day of Judgment. As much as we'll be asked for fasting and prayer, this is something we'll be asked for. So if yes, we know that the doctor has dispensed at our request some medication for us and we fail to collect it, then that goes to waste that we are responsible for it, yes.
Well, you've heard it here, Mufti Sahib has said it, and as I said, I fundamentally believe as well that if you have asked a doctor to prescribe any medication to you, and they've done so, and then you don't go and collect it, and therefore that medication is going to waste, then you will be asked why, and you have to respond to that when Allah questions you on that issue. But I mean that's something that obviously I didn't realize, that you had all this wasted medicine. That,
I was amazed as well. Then when
Yeah.
I saw it, she saw me the full basket of medicines which have been nicely packed with in the bag, with labeled and everything. They have done so much hard work just in preparing those medicines.
Yes.
There's a basket full of them lying there. She said that nobody came to collect it for weeks now.
So I hope when they come back to you next time, you don't give them any medication. You should punish them.
But the thing is that because we don't know if they have collected it or not, pharmacists know, and you know, this is the first time that you showed it to me that this is what happens. But it's very difficult for us to make sure that people, you know, go and collect it. They may have different reasons, but
Oh, there may
they
be some genuine reasons. I
they still
understand that.
need to acknowledge that if they are short of money, that if they are paying for it, that they will collect it later, or they can tell them that, you know, I don't need this medicine anymore because I'm already better now, or there may be other reasons. But that duty, because you know, of lack of responsibility, they don't fulfill that duty. And the same is the case with booking an appointment and not coming to an appointment.
Well,
You know,
that's even
each
worse.
appointment, they don't realize it, that it's, you know, government has made it free for them, but government has to pay for that appointment. Each appointment costs money. Same for general practice appointments, same for hospital appointments, same for radiology appointments and other you know, appointments.
Any health
anywhere.
related appointments.
All of that is paid for by somebody, but people, you know, don't attend, and that creates another waste of resource. And my manager has started doing an audit every week and then putting it in the waiting area, that this week there's many 100 patients, 400 patients or something have not turned up for their appointment.
That somebody else could have used that appointment.
Yes.
Because they may maybe have more critical need.
Yeah. So we are offering appointments, and then majority of practices offer appointments way above the national average in our area because of the need and demand. But then patients, if the patients fail to attend, they are taking somebody else's right to do that appointment.
Right.
So, and that is again a civil responsibility, where if we book an appointment and we don't need it, then we need to phone back and cancel in good time. Practices go up to the extent of sending patients reminders a day before, even a reminder on the morning. It goes to their telephone. Still people fail to attend, and that is height of responsibility. In my opinion, people should take more responsibility. And again, as Mufti Sahib has said, it's amana, and we always think of ibadah as our main you know, way of seeking Allah's you know, khushnudi. But in my opinion, these you know, muamalat, where you are dealing with other people, we are dealing with money, dealing with people, have got equal, if not more, importance in getting Allah's.
I mean, akhlaq is one of the most important
Akhlaq.
aspects of a person's life.
Yeah.
I remember I had the main Imam of Qatar here. He came for the first time. A lot of our Arab friends only come to London and go disappear. He came to Bradford. He was going to Edinburgh, and it's the first time he come to the north, and he loved the greenery. So I asked him about, you know, being a Muslim in this country, what are some of the key issues we should be mindful of? And he said, your akhlaq. You can pray all your namaz, you can keep all your rozas, but if your akhlaq are no good, nothing's going to help you.
Yes.
You know, if you harm an individual or an animal or the environment, you're going to be questioned on that, and that's going to be one of your main issues. So I agree with you. So I'm really, I know that some of our people do abuse the system, and not just our people, everybody does, but I think predominantly we need to be more mindful that when we have the opportunity, as Mufti Sahib said, this is an amana for us. We know we need to make sure that we take and make full use of it, because by not doing so, you're depriving somebody else who is probably more in need. Well, these are some of the health challenges in our community at the moment. I mean, obviously you very closely connected with the hospital. From your experience and your knowledge, what are some of the key health challenges that particularly in the sub-Asian continent community and Muslim community here are the ones that the NHS is facing at the moment?
Okay, one of the possibly, I think Dr. will probably concur with this, congenital abnormalities.
Right.
Okay, this is where the children born to Muslim parents have some kind of disability.
Right.
Okay, as I worked 20 odd years in the hospital, I work in Leeds. Leeds is a predominantly white populated area, 15% about Muslim, 15% of Muslims. And if you look at the extended area around Leeds that these hospitals serve, the percentage of Muslims will probably go down. Okay, but when it comes to the pediatric intensive care units, we are quite often at least 30% of
Right.
the children in the PICU, sometimes 50%, sometimes 60,
Oh my
70%.
goodness.
Okay, so there's a high incidence of congenital abnormality within our communities. Okay, and so that it's a controversial area, but I raise that issue because I observe it. I go into a hospital where the population is 15% Muslim around the hospital that the hospital serves, but they take patients from elsewhere as well, and so it is,
that takes
it
us
is
most of the resources.
clearly something is not right.
Right.
And they are and the conditions tend to be very profound as well. They're very, rare conditions. You've got 5 conditions in the, 5 people in the whole world that have that condition, or you don't have a name for it. It's a novel condition. So that is an area of concern. That is an area of discussion that, inshallah, maybe apart from the organ transplantation program, be another program.
Is this the one where first cousin marriages?
It's close relatives is an issue.
Yeah.
Close relatives has positives, has negatives, and it increases the chances. It doesn't cause it, but it increases the chances. But like I said, it's a whole discussion on itself. So that's one area. Secondly, is probably the likes of diabetes and illnesses that are quite often connected to lifestyle.
Right.
So possibly where we can make an improvement. High blood pressure, these kind of things. Some of it will be, something that's been, passed down from
hereditary.
Yeah. However, some of that is something that we can help. Obesity, high blood pressure, that kind of thing. And so we don't look after ourselves as much as we should. In terms of our food, in terms of our diet, in terms of our exercise, physical activity, we tend to be doing that a lot less. Our food habits haven't changed from when our parents were living in hot countries in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, etc. And maybe not
we
all
still
of
want
that.
parathas and
then all of that is not conducive to good health.
yeah, I know. Unless you do some exercises.
Yeah, okay. I think it's about changing both diet and have physical exercise.
Right. Well, I mean, I know there's been a lot of discussion, debate in the past about congenital abnormalities, the first cousin marriages, etc. There was some work done in Bradford some time ago in other places as well. And maybe you're right. We need somebody like you, eminent scholar, to come and talk about this issue, as well as the other issue about organ transplant. I mean, Dr. Saab, you live in a sort of different a community, which sort of broadly mixed in terms of Gujarati, Indian, and Pakistani. Are there any particular challenges around health for those communities? And is there issues between different challenges in the Indian community as opposed to other health issues among the Pakistani communities? Or is it all the same?
I would say that they're very, very similar.
Right.
Very, very similar. I think, as Mufti Sahib has said, that a lot of diseases which we are dealing with are lifestyle diseases. Okay, and again, health and disease we cannot take it out on their own. We have for years, for decades, we have treated disease in a reactionary manner. That disease, a person has got a disease and we treat it. But more and more awareness is now coming up that we need to start preventing these things. And disease is looked at looked at it nowadays from the perspective of why people are falling ill, why people have got certain illnesses. Just like Mufti Sahib has said, that one of the reason for congenital malformations, birth defects, could be that people have got close relationship, marriage within close relationships, and similarly, diabetes and obesity are diseases of bad lifestyle, where you are eating more than you need and you're burning less than you've eaten. And a lot of that then accumulates in our body in the form of fat, in the form of cholesterol, it narrows our blood vessels, and it and the extra fat actually has got other health consequences, and extra glucose in our blood creates more difficulty in our body systems to absorb that glucose, and that creates causes more damage to our organs like kidneys, like eyes, like peripheral vessels and nerves, where we can people get amputations to their legs, people get kidney failure, people get blindness.
But I mean, today I heard a report that more and more young people, or the proportion of more young people suffering strokes, is going up. Right? I was shocked when I heard that this morning on the news. I mean, is that happening in our community as well?
Not as much, very rare.
Is it?
Very rare, yeah.
Because then I was shocked when I heard that the percentage of young people now suffering strokes under the age of 40 is really shot up in the country.
Yeah. So again, a lot of it, one of the main risk factor for stroke is high blood pressure. And the other risk factor is atrial fibrillation, which normally doesn't happen in younger people. It normally happens in more elderly people.
Right.
But yes, these are the conditions which need to be managed, treated properly in good time. That's why it's important to be aware of one's health and get yourself.
So physical activity is obviously very important.
Is very important.
In everybody's life. And the Prophet ﷺ used to jog, he used to swim, I believe, and he used to do archery as part of his for sort of his routine. Am I correct, sir?
First of all, the Prophet ﷺ diet was actually quite minimal, really.
Yeah.
And secondly, he was active. We know that he had races with Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha.
Yes.
He liked swimming, etc. So they had a very, their life was very, labor intensive. So everything. So whereas we have a lot
manual,
of
yes.
that, there was manual lifestyle. I don't recollect the jogging. And
somebody said, when I say jogging, the race. I meant the race.
It was Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. Yes, there is that, and obviously, the
archery,
the sword, etc. So they had a very physical lifestyle.
Right.
Whereas we have very sedentary lifestyle. We're sitting behind desks and piling on the
pounds. Yes.
The pounds,
unfortunately, yes.
And
we have a rich array of food.
We
Which I remember Hafiz Patel Sahab, marhum, may Allah gave him the highest place in Jannah. A couple of weeks before he passed away, he said to me, Iqbal, there was a time when we were young, we were looking for food, and now I've got so much food presented to me, I can't even touch it. When we were little and young, we had struggling to feed ourselves with food. We didn't have the spread that we have now, and now, as I'm getting older and closer to death, when I was sat next to him, I was eating, because every time I used to go and see him, he was eating. He used to say, मेरे पास आके बैठ जाओ. And then he used to eat a little bit from his plate and then hand the plate over to me. He used to say, Iqbal, dekho, now we've got so much choice that I can't even eat it, touch it. So we are blessed in that sense. But as you say, we need to be very careful. We need to be mindful. Last few bits of wisdom, sir, to our viewers about Ramadan and what they need to do.
Okay, Ramadan is a very religious month. Yeah, we have the health discussion, but it is a month where it's a detox for the rest of the year. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has given us this month, like I said at the beginning of the program, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, that you may develop piety. And what happens is, when we starve ourselves, starve our bodies, we spiritually get stronger.
Inshallah.
So, and the idea is, it's not simply about, okay, have you fasted, have you abstained from food and drink between us from dawn to sunset, and Tarawih at night. No, it's about the 24 hours of every day of Ramadan. Remind ourselves to take time out, take time out to read the Holy Quran, take time out to Salah, take time out to do the night prayer, Tahajjud. If we do this properly, then that will create a change with us.
Inshallah.
It will create a change with us. If we just take Ramadan in our stride, Ramadan came and Ramadan went, and we didn't realize when it came, when it went. All we knew is that we got fried food at the iftar, and that's it.
Yeah.
Then Ramadan doesn't really change our life. You need to change your life in Ramadan. You need to take time out of work. Don't just keep going work for the whole month of Ramadan and that's it. No, take time out. Especially in the last 10 days where you can do i'tikaf as well. The whole idea of doing i'tikaf is excluding yourselves off from other people as well, and focusing solely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so when we spend our time in
I have to ask you, Mustab, to round up, because we're running out of time at the moment. I'm really, really sorry. I should have done this about 5 minutes ago. I hope you found that really interesting. I'm definitely going to invite Mufti Sahib again to come and join me to have a further discussion on this, and Dr. Sahib at some stage as well. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you find this very useful. Please, as I say every month, every program, please remember us in your dua. May Allah keep you safe and well, and you have a wonderful Ramadan in front of you and spiritually uplifting. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.